Hello and welcome back to After the Movies, the show where you join us after you've seen the movie. And the movie this week is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a film that I cannot recommend to anybody because it's really inappropriate. But if you enjoy certain styles of humor and can handle certain content like nudity and swearing and violence, then you will really enjoy this movie if you like cleverness and well-written scripts. That's my particular opinion. But Jonathan, what do you think?
I think this is a Shane Black movie, Luke. That's what I think this is. Shane Black, if you don't know, is the guy who wrote Lethal Weapon, basically, like, created the characters at Lethal Weapon 1 and 2. In fact, he was angry about Lethal Weapon 2 because of things I can't mention, because Luke has yet to see Lethal Weapon, and we have to do that sometime.
Yeah, we'll be doing that at some point.
Anyway, point is, if you know Lethal Weapon, Last Boy Scout, Last Action Hero,
Which I have
Iron Man
seen.
3 for more recent people, he's going to do a new movie with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, which looks like, you know, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in the 70s. It's
Truth.
It's Shane Black style. It's got absolute dark humor. It's funny. It's got the buddy cop thing going on. Basically, a couple dudes who like are opposites in lots of ways, who are totally like hanging out, making jokes, having friction at the same time, somehow work together really well. Like that is Shane Black's cup of tea, man. That is what he does extremely well when he writes. And so this was his directorial debut. And yes, it has got a lot of content. I mean, yeah, there's nudity, there's language, there's violence, there's all sorts of just inappropriate, gross things going on. I mean, let's again after the movies, right? So, incest, that's a thing, and then you know, of all the things that he treats flippantly, incest he kind of treats flippantly at the beginning to kind of undermine it, and then at the end he kind of hits you hard with it because he's trying not to undermine it. So it's kind of interesting. He undermines it at the very beginning. Then he hits it hard at the end, being like, yeah, no, incest sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, and not just incest. It's also like physical abuse, like beating children. And then he also just throws in stuff like, desecrating bodies, like the out the window, and then the trash thing, like, oh, like that moment, like everybody's just like, oh, like every time you watch that movie, it's just brutal. They also have lots and lots of really inappropriate like jokes about things. They just say lines that you're just like, oh, can you say that? So there's lots and lots of that, but at the same time, incredibly creatively and cleverly written. So many funny parts. And as far as like plant and payoff that you talk about a lot, and just bookending thing, like it just. Like, there is so much that loops throughout this entire movie. Everything comes back around, even down to the point, like, at the very beginning, it's like, well, maybe you don't care about how I got here. Maybe you just care about Silly Putty. And then there's Silly Putty. Like, every single little thing just connects. Now, nitpick for me, and I've tried, each time I've watched it, to try and, do this, because they talk about how, like, hey, Johnny Gossamer always has 16 guys, that get shot. And I've counted, and I can't get to 16. So if you can get to 16, leave it in the comments, because that's the one part of this movie that I'm like, from a script standpoint, you could have made it 12 or 14 or however many it actually is, and then it would have been brilliant. So that's for me. That's the one scene where I'm like, it just doesn't connect. Everything else just snaps into place, and it's great.
Yeah, they do mention that, and that's kind of one of the fun parts of the movie is the Johnny Gossamer books and the movies, and Shane Black, of course, being Shane Black, is playing with the conventions and making Robert Downey Jr.'s character be his voice, essentially, to be like, that was a crappy scene. You know totally that's going to come back again, right? Because I just told you it's going to. And if you're a savvy film goer like I am, you totally know it's going to show up in some way, shape, or form. And he has a lot of those moments. The funny thing is, he also uses it to both tell you it's coming and at the same time get you not to think about it.
Yep.
Because he just, he points out some things and he leaves some things. He just, by using the mechanic of pointing at that and saying, that's the thing, and then you don't feel like it's too cliche because it's been pointed out to you, so you're kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of funny they pointed it out. There's some things that are cliche or that happen that he simply just does not point out. He just does not give it much credence or time. He just lets it happen.
Like a true magician with the misdirection, so he can pull the rabbit out of the hat. It's great. Like, it's really good, because even that fits thematically with this film.
Yeah, the 16 guys at the end could have been okay, but there's something about, it's not about the number, although the number is emphasized in the story and the script earlier, but it's just about, that scene to me is more about just saying it's a big ending and a lot of people die, right? Like that's the thing. It's like at the end, somebody has to get tortured, somebody has
Happens.
like it's gonna be a gunfight, it's gonna be a big ending,
Yep.
and he's also plan and payoff, right? He talks about in the scene with the girl, the daughter of the guy, the very beginning of the movie, he stops the whole reel and says, "That scene sucked," I wonder where the end of this movie will be. That's true. At the same time, he doesn't point it out with the hospital. The
Right.
hospital shows up as being like in the news footage about when the girl shows up. The girl shows up again, so you're like, oh, he told me this was going to happen. And at the same time, he's planting the information about the hospital, which is where you're actually going to have your climax and what's actually going to happen. So, that's what I mean. Like he misdirects you by telling you what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's clever. It's a fun twist on the genre conventions. But it's a fun movie, and there's lots of fun if you can handle all sorts of jokes about sex, incest, violence, homosexuality, all sorts of horrible things that go on. But there's a level where part of the reason I think this movie is appealing is because if you do have a dark sense of humor, or if you do even in a serious way, kind of deal with these issues. Like you think about, you're like, I don't like incest. I don't like a lot of the things that these people are going through, and the things they're dealing with just aren't something I'm comfortable with or want to talk about. In a world full of extremely PC things, from everyone's talking to everyone's media to, having a conversation with somebody, you say the wrong thing and like people jump on you and think it's a big deal, and this movie does not go there. This movie goes the exact opposite direction and just kind of says, yeah, we're gonna say faggot, and we're gonna talk about incest, and we're gonna talk about gross, violent. We're gonna make jokes that are really inappropriate. And there's something that makes that, because he does that, it makes it feel in some ways more real, because it's not PC. It's just, in a lot of ways, you might think. I mean, I don't want to assume that everyone's mind is as dirty or as foul as that movie is. But there are times that everybody has dirty or foul thoughts, or those jokes come to mind, or those things can happen if you were stuck in those situations. And he plays to that. That gives it a certain sense of validity, even though it's totally non-PC, totally not kind or nice. And I think that's kind of part of the point, so it feels a bit more real. So when he does the thing at the end where he's like, I'm just trying to tell you the truth about this story, that's why he came back, there's a certain level of validity you feel for the movie, a certain level of validity, even though he's playing the conventions, he's telling you all the conventions he's using. It is a movie. He's still, his style and what he's doing are, even though being really bigger, larger than life, especially with the incest thing at the end, and the way that the girl did commit suicide. It's not a Johnny Gossamer. Like the whole thing at the end is just saying, while I spun a nice yarn for you, at the end of the day, even this movie is going to say that it's not like that, and it's really more like this, and there's just something clever about that, and it's just got a very unique vibe to it. There's no other movie I know of that comes to mind right off the bat that's anything like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There's nothing quite like it. It's quite the ride. It's interesting. It's entertaining if you are willing to wade through all the filth that is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And make no mistake, it's filth, and that's the part of the thing. That's why I'm saying, like, they're inappropriate, and that's part of the point. Like, everybody is aware it's all filth, and it's kind of like, we're going to go through it. And if you're going to wade through filth, this is potentially one of the most entertaining ways to wade through filth. So
yeah, and at the same time, while he's talking, speaking of like biggies, like there's these moments where like we actually have like these characters interacting, and it's like, wait, so a guy just grabs your breast and like that's no big deal? Like, what kind of guys do you hang out with?
Right.
What's up with that? And then like, like, why are
indictments.
there so many girls who are just like messed up in this town? Like, what is up with this? Like going through some of that piece of how does this negatively impact people, and where do people end up if they've been through situations like this where they're like, hey, I'm willing to just, whatever, it's a thing. Like, how do we change this? It's an interesting way of going about stuff.
You bringing that up makes me think of I want to compare this movie to The Wolf of Wall Street, because the Wolf of Wall Street, if you've seen that movie, I know it's different. That's a movie full of filth. Let me just tell you right now, absolutely
definitely
full of filth. And Scorsese, DiCaprio, the people who made the movie have been saying, there was contestation that there's just so much sex, so much language, so much violence, so much glorification of doing cocaine in the 80s and ripping people off and having sex, in the worst, like being unfaithful and all those different things,
making fun of midgets,
like all sorts of terrible things,
right.
especially, again, very non-PC.
Right.
But what's the difference? They say that their movie is ultimately an indictment of that life and culture. That's what they were saying. And I have to, having seen both movies, this movie does make indictments, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, wait, it's okay that I touch your breast? And it's not that, look, it's not that any of the characters are good or perfect or anywhere near good. Like, they're all broken, but the movie's kind of trying to tell you, yeah, everyone's broken, and why is that? And not everybody is broken because of a traumatic childhood experience, okay? Which is kind of what this movie really pushes. I mean, Gay Perry is a broken person because he's been beaten when he's like, even if that's a joke or not, there's a hint that there's something more about his childhood. Everybody in this story is broken in some, and they're all screwed up people. And as they go through it, he, like you say, he's making observations. Why are you okay with this? Who are you hanging out? Like, when did this become okay? Why is LA this place where this is suddenly like people? What the F is happening out here? Look at all these people doing weird crap. The party he goes to when he's on drugs, and you're like, you don't have to be on drugs to be like, what the crap is this? Like, what is going on? And so there's indictments, and they're pretty clear indictments, I say. I mean, they're still kind of subtle and still kind of like you have to think about it, but they're definitely indictments of the world and the way that things happen. Whereas Wolf of Wall Street is not very indicting as much as it is just showing you. And everything falls down at the end of Wolf of Wall Street. Everything collapses, and that's the true story. Right. But it's not an indictment. It's just showing you how everything goes, and it does show you some of the repercussions, the marital problems that were undoubtedly going to happen. Like the cocaine and drugs, how that screws you over and how you can't sustain that kind of lifestyle. Okay, but it's a different kind of thing, Mm-hmm. I don't feel like The Wolf of Wall Street took a lot of time to indict anything. He just tried to show you it, and by showing you it, would hope that you would understand that that's just messed up. This movie, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, takes a little bit of time to do what a movie and stories and these things can do, which is in various ways kind of share the author's observations or the feeling. The dark humor and the satire and the wit of this film give him moments to be funny and at the same time kind of hit you with the observation. Like in the tit grabbing scene is an example of that. What are you doing? Like, why is he does it? It's this joke. He's imperfect. It's funny because he's trying to get a spider, and you're on his side. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And you wanted to let it. You want her to let him off because he's not doing that purposely. But there's this great moment, right? Wait, if I did do that for no reason, and you did catch me, why?
Right.
It's just enough. Where it's totally character based, but at the same time, it's just like, wait, what?
Yeah. They also do that with the Chutney or whatever. Like. You've got this moment, right, where like they're getting into it, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, no, it's off now. And so as an audience member, you're watching this girl discover the brokenness of her life and how that has ruined her chances of being with a guy that actually seems to care for her. And she's crying in the sun-filled rain. And you as the audience are like chuckling because like that scene was so hilariously cut together and put together. But like,
it is sad.
But it's sad, like, and that is some of the brilliance of this movie, is that you have these moments where you're laughing, but on the inside you're kind of crying. And
that's one of my nitpicks too. So I always felt like I always forget this movie. I like at the end when he goes, "How about you, film goer? Have you figured out like what I figured out?" And I'm like, I never figured it out. Any of the times I watched it, I've seen it multiple times. I always forget. I'm like, wait, why are they going to the hospital?
What happened? Yeah.
The underwear's important. I don't remember. It's something. It's this thing. Okay. One of my nitpicks for the movie though is so she calls him. She literally calls him, which is funny because it's also the call to action, right? Like he's hurt, he's broken, he doesn't want to do anything anymore. And she calls him and she's like, and she gives him the most ridiculously cliche, like, save me. And the thing that's funny about it is, I swear to you, any guy who likes a girl that much for that long gets that call, and it's any situation like that, is going to do the same thing. He's going to be like, okay, all right, I got to get the gun, and I got to go try to do the thing. Will they succeed? Who knows? But it's going to be like that. They're just going to try. And so there's obviously still, he has a care for her, right? And it's, so my nitpick is at the end. Now, I don't, this movie's not about trying to do a Hollywood ending. In fact, they make the fun of the Hollywood ending, right? Which is funny. But what,
Yes.
I don't hate any resolution between his and hers relationship.
None.
Like, she's there in the hospital when he wakes up and all that, but there's no understanding if they just remain friends, if she really is so broken that they'll never get together, if she's just gone, if we never, if they do get together, we have no idea where their relationship goes. We know that him and Kate Perry get together as a partnership or whatever, as a firm, and that's great, but my one nitpick is, I'm left hanging, and as an audience viewer, I want to know, like, there are ways to leave somebody hanging that are impactful, like, easy mainstream example is Inception, right? Everyone wants to know the question, is it a dream, is it not a dream, and you have your theories, and there's a reason for doing that, for leaving you hanging and not giving you the full resolution. This is one where I'm kind of like, you spend so much time investing, I'm kind of like, what happened? And it's a certain level where it also feels realistic, where you're like, well,
don't know.
You don't necessarily know.
Yeah, and you don't get to see them then kind of actually grow up and become, people who are willing to, finish things, push forward, or anything like that.
Which is definitely part of the characters, right?
Yep.
All the characters are definitely broken people. Like, the whole romance scene before he finds out that she slept with Chuck Chutney, right? Before that moment and all the stuff where she's just getting naked and she's drunk and he's like, he's sitting there and he's like, he totally wants to bang her, and she's like, you can get in the bed and we're just gonna be sleeping there. I mean, if that's gonna frustrate you, and he's like, let's just find out, let's just see. I am all about chivalry and men being responsible and like never being in that situation and being the kind of guy that if you were, you would choose to sleep on the couch because you're not gonna take advantage. At the same time, there's a beautiful thing in this story about exploring people who are broken and that part of you that is broken that's like, yeah, no, if I was with an attractive girl that I cared about and she was getting naked, I would be doing the same thing. I'd be like, yeah, let's go find out. Let's just go see. And the fact that those characters are that way lets you kind of explore a certain side of yourself, whether or not you happen to live that way or if you don't live that way, you kind of explore what that looks like and how even in doing that, even pursuing that, and getting right to the end, like, that's why I love the Chuck Chutney thing. It's one of my favorite moments of the whole movie, because even then, it's broken.
Yep.
Right? Even then, in this perfect moment where it's like, yes, she's not the femme fatale, but she's so broken and he's so broken that it breaks. They can't even go far enough to make it so it hurts more when it breaks. Like, it already hurts enough. Like, it's just broken. And there's something good about having characters that broken and seeing kind of these little pieces here and there. It's not for everybody. It's not the kind of thing you show to encourage people or anything like that, I
uncomfortable to watch with your parents, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
don't.
that's one you just don't do that way.
Yeah.
But there's something I'm trying to say. There's something valuable about it nonetheless. Like, it's we enjoy its style and its cleverness and its wit, and that's valuable to from a filmmaker's perspective and just an enjoyment perspective. But there's also something valuable about exploring that world and those people, and whether you are one of those people or you're not, if you're going to interact with some, and being able to kind of have a film that cleverly and fun and entertainingly doesn't go too dark in some ways, like doesn't necessarily dwell there and doesn't try to destroy your heart and soul, but at the same time says, look how broken this all is, look how frustrated this all is. There is something valuable about that. And I don't necessarily have the absolute perfect way of saying that or what that really means, but there's something valuable there. There's something that's worth it for some people to explore.
So if you're looking for a movie that steps fully into the inappropriate thing and yet has incredibly clever lines and very fun dialogue about grammar and math,
and plays with movie conventions, plays with the noir and action film and all those conventions, because that's what those movies do. It's biting wit, sarcasm, satire, all that good stuff.
Acting, fun characters doing crazy things and all that. Watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. If you can't handle inappropriate movies,
If you don't like the F word,
Yeah.
if violence disturbs you,
Yeah.
if sex and nudity is something you can't handle.
Why are you watching this after the movies? Because why did you watch the movie? I don't know.
Because we were telling them about it. They don't have to watch the movie at that
Oh,
point.
yeah, but see, this is after the movies. That you watch after.
Do you really think everybody watches this after the movies?
No. But we thank you guys very much for joining us, and we really hope you enjoyed it and that you have a great day before we see you again next time.